So, take a second and just look around your room right now.
Yeah, literally whatever room you're sitting in.
Right. Just look at the stuff. Almost everything you see,
Right.
your computer, your clothes, the furniture, it all probably spent weeks on a massive cargo ship.
It's crazy to think about, but yeah, global shipping is responsible for about 90% of global trade.
90%. But here's the catch, and this is what we're getting into today. It also pumps out roughly 3% of the world's greenhouse gases. We're talking around 1.2 billion tons recently.
Right, which is just a staggering amount of pollution.
Exactly. So the mission for this deep dive is to unpack this monumental, really high-stakes challenge of making global shipping green.
Because it's not as simple as just, flipping a switch.
No, not at all. And to figure this out, we've got a great stack of sources today. We're looking at corporate sustainability reports from Ming Marine Transport Corporation.
A huge player in the industry.
Yeah, massive. Plus, we have a 2024 news article featuring insights from their chairman, Ming, and some really fascinating academic data from Taiwan's National Science and Technology Council.
And what's so fascinating here is how looking at just one company like Yang Ming, it really reveals the incredible, the complexities of this massive global economic shift.
Yeah, it grounds it in reality, because right now the industry is facing this agonizing dilemma with fuel. To fix shipping, you kind of have to understand why this transition is just uniquely painful for them.
Oh, absolutely. And a lot of that pain is coming from a ticking clock. The regulatory pressure is really turning up the heat.
Right, the EU is not messing around.
No, they aren't. The European Union has this emissions trading system, or EPS, and it's basically forcing shippers to pay for their pollution.
And the timeline is aggressive, right?
Super aggressive.
Yeah.
So in 2024, they started charging companies for 40% of their emissions.
Okay, 40%.
Yeah, but then it jumps to 70% in 2025, and by 2026, it hits a 100% emissions tax.
Wow. So full taxation in just a couple of years.
Exactly. And if they fail to comply, the penalties are massive fines. Or worse, they get banned from European ports entirely.
Which would bankrupt a global shipping company.
Instantly. You can't operate globally if you can't dock in Europe.
But here's the really striking part I found in the sources. Chairman Ming gives this major reality check. He says there is no ultimate green fuel available yet.
Right. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, like everything they have right now is just a transition fuel.
Which is terrifying when you have regulators forcing you to switch by 2026. And the data from Class NK, which is a big maritime classification society, it's just staggering.
What are the numbers looking like?
Well, alternative fuels, things like e-methane or e-methanol, they cost anywhere from 1.5 to 4 times more than traditional fossil fuels.
4 times more. That's insane.
It is. And that's just the liquid itself. The industry needs something like $8 billion to $28 billion annually just to upgrade the actual ships.
Just for the upgrades?
Yeah, just the chips. And then up to $90 billion for the fueling infrastructure at the ports.
Okay, let's unpack this for a second. It's basically like being forced to swap out your car's gas tank while you're driving on the highway.
Right.
But the new fuel costs 4 times as much, and the gas stations to pump it haven't even been built yet.
That is exactly what it's like. It's a logistical nightmare.
So my question is, if the fuel doesn't exist at scale and it costs a fortune, how does a company like Ming avoid going bankrupt while trying to hit their net zero target for 2050?
Well, they have to get creative because that perfect fuel solution is out of reach financially and technologically right now. They focus on marginal gains.
Squeezing every drop of efficiency out of what they already have.
Exactly. They have to ask, what can we do today with the ships that are already in the water?
Which brings us to that academic collaboration, the National Science and Technology Council project. Ming teamed up with CSBC Corporation and National Cheng Kung University.
Yes, the NCKU study. This is where it gets really scientific.
Yeah, they used computational fluid dynamics, CFD.
Right. So they took these massive data sets and built full-scale CFD models. They were trying to figure out the absolute perfect posture or attitude for a ship to sail in.
Wait, like how the ship sits in the water?
Yes.
Yeah.
By optimizing the flow of water around that massive hull, you can actually reduce drag.
That's wild. And they did hardware tweaks too, right?
Yeah, a bunch of physical upgrades, things like energy-saving rudders, special bulbous bows, electronic-controlled engines.
Oh, and the paint. The tin-free, low-friction, anti-fouling paint?
Yes, the paint is crucial. It keeps barnacles and stuff from sticking, so the ship glides much smoother through the water.
But wait, let me push back on this for a second because I read the NSTC study and it says all of this adjusting the posture and the paint, it only saves about 2 to 4% on fuel.
Yeah, 2 to 4%.
I mean, that sounds like a rounding error. Is a 2% savings really worth a massive national academic collaboration?
It sounds tiny, I know,
Yeah.
but you have to think about the sheer scale of global shipping.
Okay, scale it out for me.
When you have a ship that's burning tens of thousands of tons of fuel, 2 to 4% is huge.
Oh, I guess it makes sense.
Yeah, it translates to massive financial savings, and more importantly, it keeps thousands of tons of greenhouse gases out of the atmosphere.
Right, because a tiny percentage of a gigantic number is still a really big number.
Exactly. So those marginal gains on the open ocean really do matter.
Okay, so that's the open ocean, but a ship spends a lot of its life not moving at all.
Right, sitting in port.
Yeah, which brings us to the other half of this equation. What happens when these floating cities reach the shore?
And historically, what happens is they sit there burning dirty diesel fuel just to keep the lights on and the cargo cold.
Which is terrible for the air quality in those coastal cities. But Yangming is doing something called alternative maritime power, or AMP.
Yeah, shore power.
Basically, instead of idling those dirty engines, 58.16% of Yangming's ships can literally just plug into the local grid.
It's a huge shift.
And the numbers are impressive. In 2024, just using AMP saved over 3,200 tons of fuel.
Wow,
Yeah, and it cut 4,800 tons of emissions.
that's significant.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. It's like using AMP is basically treating a cargo ship like a giant smartphone.
Yeah, a massive smartphone.
You plug it into the wall when you get home so it doesn't have to run a loud gas generator in the living room.
That's a perfect analogy. And while they're plugging in the current fleet, they're also building the fleet of tomorrow.
The dual fuel ships.
Right. So Chairman Tsai talked about the delivery of these new 15,500 TEU ships.
Wait, really quick. For anyone not deep in shipping jargon, TEU is 20-foot equivalent unit. Basically, a 15,500 TEU ship holds 15,500 of those standard cargo boxes.
Which is just a massive vessel. And the new ones coming in early 2026, like the YM Willpower and YM Worthiness, they're LNG dual fuel.
liquefied natural gas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's a huge step forward. In fact, they recently did a successful 3,500-ton LNG bunkering operation in Singapore with Shell.
So they are actively making these transition fuels work.
They are. But, going green isn't just about carbon emissions.
Right. This was one of my favorite parts of the sustainability report. Yangming is winning awards for protecting whales.
Yes, the Sapphire Award.
Yeah, through the Protecting Blue Whales and Blue Skies program. And it's not even a high-tech solution. They literally just slow the ships down.
It's so beautifully simple. By slowing down, they reduce the underwater noise.
Which helps the whales communicate.
Right. And it also drastically reduces the chance of a fatal whale strike.
It really shows that sustainability isn't just one big silver bullet. It's, 100 little fixes. From LNG engines to plugging into the wall to just slowing down for whales.
Absolutely. It's a massive balancing act. But here's where the narrative of the sources really takes a turn.
How so?
Well, up to this point, we've been talking about how Yangming is fighting climate change. But when you look at their 2025 risk management and TCFD reports.
The Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures.
Right. When you read those, you realize that climate change and just an unpredictable world in general is fighting back against Yangming.
Oh, that's a really good way to put it. The physical risks.
Exactly. The board identified several major physical risks, and typhoons are at the top of the list.
Because extreme weather is increasing.
Right. And a typhoon isn't just a bumpy ride for the crew. It causes entire ports to close down.
So what happens to the ship? Does it just park?
It can't. It either has to drift out at sea or completely reroute. And the reports show that this adds 4 to 5 days of continuous fuel burn to a single trip.
4 to 5 extra days of burning fuel.
Yeah.
So all those microscopic marginal gains from the posture and the special paint, those are just instantly wiped out by one storm.
Exactly. Nature just erases all that optimization.
That is so frustrating. And it's not just the weather. The reports outline a lot of geopolitical risks, too.
Oh, massively.
Tensions in the Red Sea, the Middle East, the Taiwan Strait. Whenever these flare up, ships have to reroute to avoid conflict zones.
Which means sailing much longer distances.
Which ruins the fuel efficiency again and spikes carbon emissions.
It's a vicious cycle. You engineer a greener ship, but geopolitics forces it to burn twice as much fuel anyway.
Okay, but this brings me to the absolute wildest thing on their 2025 high-risk list.
The wild card.
Yes, generative AI.
It's not what you'd expect on a shipping manifest.
Right. I read that and was like, what does this all mean? I get why a typhoon threatens a cargo ship or a regional conflict. But how on earth does ChatGPT or generative AI pose a risk to a massive steel box floating on the ocean?
Well, you have to remember that modern shipping is hyper-connected. It's all relying heavily on IoT, the Internet of Things.
Okay.
Smart navigation, digital ledgers, automated port operations. It's a giant digital web.
So it's vulnerable to hacking.
Very. And hackers are now using Gen AI to create highly sophisticated automated cyber attacks on these logistics networks.
Like AI-powered phishing emails or spoofing credentials.
Exactly. They can mimic officials perfectly. They can trick systems into miswriting cargo or shutting down operations.
Wow. So an AI attack could literally stop a physical ship from unloading.
100%. It's such a severe threat that Yang Ming actually had to draft an AI application guide for their staff.
Just to keep things secure.
Yeah, and they're installing these new MDR systems.
Managed detection and response.
Right, just to protect their massive physical fleet from AI-powered digital threats.
That is wild. It really brings it all full circle, doesn't it?
It really does.
I mean, the next time you order something online and it arrives at your door, you can appreciate the invisible war being waged just to get it to you.
It's a miracle it arrives at all.
Truly. They're balancing cutting-edge fluid dynamics, they're dodging typhoons, they're plugging into shore grids, and navigating global geopolitical minefields.
And fighting off AI hackers.
Right, all at the same time. It's incredible.
But, you know, it does leave us with a really heavy thought to end on.
Okay.
Well, think about all those costs we talked about earlier. If the ultimate green fuels truly end up costing 4 times as much as fossil fuels.
Yeah, the e-methanol and everything.
Right. Those massive costs, they are inevitably passed down the supply chain, right to the consumer.
Oh, of course. Shipping gets expensive. Everything gets expensive.
Exactly. So the real question is, will the green revolution ultimately spell the end of cheap, globalized goods?
Wow.
I mean, will fighting climate change force the world to abandon global shipping altogether and go back to manufacturing everything locally?
That would change the entire structure of the world economy. That is definitely something to mull over the next time you click Add to Cart. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.